Hi there, my name is Trinity, and welcome to my March wrap-up. So, in the the month of March, I read 12 books. I did it again. I went a little crazy. I'm sorry. I don't usually read so many books. I don't know why. I just feel like I've been having so much free time recently. So that's what I've been doing with my free time is reading. So that's how I read 12 books this month. I don't know. Don't even ask me how. So for March, I would say I had a fairly good reading month. I read about 12 books. I just said that. Trinity, stop it. All of the books I read, I really enjoyed. Nothing was below a 3. I think the lowest is a 3.5, which is pretty good. Pretty generous. Very sweet of me. So let's get started talking about the books I read in March. The very first book I read in March was 5 Survive by Holly Jackson, the author of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. I think I've already stated this. That series is everything to me. That series, whew, number one. Think about it every single day. Anyway, we were talking about 5 Survive. I rated this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It didn't live up to my expectations, is the only really thing. We're following a girl named Red and her friends while they are going on a vacation, I guess, for spring break, and they used a van to get there. It is so incredibly hard to explain after you have read this book because there is so much that goes into it. Our narrator, Red, I thought was a little hard to understand because it is very obvious from reading her point of view that she has ADHD. She just cannot, her mind is going a mile a minute, which when you are in such a high stakes situation like they are here, it is so frustrating to read it like that because you are like, oh, this is happening. Oh, how are they gonna do this? And she's like, oh my God, the color is this and that is happening this. And she's not focusing as intently as you would want her to. That is all I can tell you without really spoiling it. That's all. Usually in thriller books, there's about like 1 or 2 kind of twists that come. Both of the twists in this book, I literally wrote, first twist, not really all that surprised. Second twist, not really surprised. I don't know, they weren't surprising. It didn't have that wow factor. I still think Holly Jackson is just a wonderful writer. This one just didn't live up to what I have inside of my head. It was still great. I would still suggest it if you like thrillers. It's not like the most scary thriller. You're definitely on your toes. You're definitely filled with anxiety. So I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read this month was Daisy Hates by Jessa Hastings. This book is the second book in the Magnolia Parks universe. I loved it. I gave it a 4.25 out of 5 stars. The beginning for me was just a little slow. I just had trouble getting into it. I found just the first 100 pages or so, but once you are halfway through the book is when you kind of really care about the characters, is what I really enjoyed. You got really into them about halfway through. I really liked the way it was told. It is told from both Daisy and Christian's perspective, who we meet in the first Magnolia Parks book, if you do not know. I thought Daisy's chapters were a delight because what she does is she kind of has, I don't know if you can read that at all, she has little footnotes. It's just the way her brain works, and I just really appreciated that. I thought her chapters were so quirky, so fun. I really enjoyed Daisy as a character. As I said in a previous video, I just think she's the coolest. She's a really cool gal, is all I have to say. This one, as all of the Magnolia Parks books do, ends on such a cliffhanger, and I am so anxious to keep reading about them. I love their love story. I love what they have going for them. I think I enjoyed Christian and Daisy just a little bit more than I enjoyed Magnolia and BJ, which is unpopular opinion. I just connected with them more. I believed them a little more. They weren't as toxic, I guess, but Magnolia and BJ are the epitome of toxic, so I guess anybody is gonna beat them. I very much enjoyed this book, and I will be continuing on with this series. I'm just nervous about it. The next book I read was Throttled by Lauren Asher. I love her. She's such a good author. Oh my gosh, she kills me every time. So I rated this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really loved it. It was so much spicier than I was thinking it was gonna be because it was her first book, I think. I'm pretty sure. Right out of the gate. Immediately loved. There's so much tension in these books, and I like how we get little little glimpses of the other characters that we're gonna see. By the way, this is the first book in the Dirty Air series. I haven't mentioned that yet. So we get like little glimpses of the other characters that we're gonna be meeting in the rest of the series, which I really enjoyed. I love little tie-in romance stories. I always enjoy it. So in this book, we've got Noah and Maya. Noah is an F1 racer and Maya is an F1 racer's brother, and they're kind of enemies. Feelings start to develop and things start to happen. However, I'm immensely jealous of Maya having her frigging YouTube channel and having like millions of followers right away. I guess that's what you get when you have a famous brother and you're fictional. The spice was out of this world for this book. I said 10 out of 10 spice level, like immaculate. I really liked their connection. Keep in mind, this is 3 out of 12, so we're gonna have a lot of talking to do. This next book, I can't eat it. Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. I kid you not. I started this in the morning and then I stayed up until 3 a.m. 3 a.m. to finish this because I physically could not let these people go. I needed to read it all. And then I was in the biggest slump the next day because I had spent an entire day with these characters. I have lived their life. I have felt their story. I have fell in love with Alexis and Daniel, and I could not let them go. I honestly still can't let them go. This follows Alexis and Daniel. Alexis is like part of like this famous kind of doctor family, and she's like a nurse at the place. Daniel lives in a small town. He's basically the mayor, I'm pretty sure. Or is that a different book? That's a different book. I've read a lot of small town this month, so don't fault me. She goes into this small town on like a little trip really quickly, and then she ends up meeting Daniel, and they have a little connection, and she kind of just finds herself, she keeps going back for him, even though she has such like this big, important life, and he just would not fit into that life. I can't even explain how much I love them. Like, that's just the basic premise of it. There is so much more. They talk about the Princess Bride. The last line is literally a quote from the Princess Bride. As you wish is like one of the last lines in the book, and I'm like, sold. 5 out of 5. 5 out of 5. Princess Bride, you get a 5-star. That's an amazing book. Not only that, the characters were amazing. The world was amazing. I really felt the conflict. I loved their connection. It was just so immediate and genuine, and oh my god, the struggles they had, you could see from both of their perspectives. 5-star. You know, you just get those feelings. And I got to page 50 and I was like, 5 stars. And the second book in this little thing is coming out in April. The next book I read was By a Thread by Lucy Score, which I'm very excited that I read because I have been having it up here for quite some time, and she is a thicky little romance. It's quite thick for a romance. We have enemies to lovers, grumpy boss, grumpy girl, the banter, and I'll say this every time. Lucy Score, you are amazing at writing banter. I kid you not. I do, however, just want to say that I probably did rate this book a little lower than what I thought I was going to rate it because of how amazing Part of Your World was. And then I forced myself to go into this book and I was like, you have to like this book, Trinity. You have to read it. Every book can't be Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez, as much as we want it to be. The spice and like the sexual tension we got and the banter between these two characters was like immediate. You're like, yeah. Again, I can't get over how much I love Lucy Score's writing and how she writes her characters and just how dynamic they all are. Their connections, like, just top tier is honestly it. It was very much The Devil Wears Prada because they work at like this fashion magazine, but we have Dominic and Allie. Dominic is like he's like the CEO of this big fashion magazine, and his mom is like the boss, and then Allie is like working all of these different jobs because of her situation she is in with her family. So she's working like more jobs than I can even imagine. She gets fired from one of her jobs because of Dominic, and his mom feels super bad. She gets Allie a job, and Allie starts to work at this company, and they have banter and they fight and they fall in love, and there's a dog named Brownie. So cute. I think the one critique I had for this is just the main characters weren't my favorite. I really appreciated the side characters. I really did. However, when I was reading this, I was like really thinking it was going to be a lower rating for me just because I wasn't really liking them. However, we get to the ending and we get to the epilogue, and that ending is honestly what redeemed them in my eyes. I was almost crying. I rated By a Thread by Lucy Score a 4 out of 5 stars. So it's still pretty high. Lucy Score, you don't miss, queen. So this month, even though last month I literally deemed it the month of my obsession, this month, obsessed. Obsession. I think that's just my word this year, is obsession. I read Caraval by Stephanie Garber. Now hear me out. I was supposed to read the Cruel Prince trilogy. I was gonna do it. But then like Sarah and Haley and Destiny, all of those YouTubers were talking about Once Upon a Broken Heart and reading it and raving about it. And I was like, you know what? Let's read Caraval. Let's read the Caraval trilogy. Let's just see how I like it. And babe, 4.75 out of 5 stars. It didn't get a 5. Oh, the first one did not get a 5. This series is following 2 sisters, and in the first novel we are following Scarlet. Her sister is Tella. They go to this magical Caraval game as kind of like a last hurrah before she goes and she gets married. They have a super abusive father. They're trying to escape him, at least Tella is. The first game that we find is they arrive on the island and Scarlet finds out that she needs to find her sister, and that's the game. She needs to find her sister before Caraval's over, or like, she's gone. So she teams up with a lovely little sailor named Julian, and the rest just takes place from there. The whole theme of this book is you cannot trust a single thing. Do not trust anyone. Do not trust what they're saying, what they're thinking, nothing. Do not trust anything. It was a whirlwind, to tell you the least. I was absolutely, positively transported into this world. I was sucked right in, and I felt like I was there on the pages. That is how phenomenal I felt this world was. The reason it's not 5 is because I felt very frustrated with Scarlet. In this book, she's still very young. She's still very set in her ways. She's very much obsessed with finding her sister, which I mean, I get. I'd be like, oh my god, where the frick is my sister? I'd be upset as well. But it's all she talks about. In this book, I felt like her personality was finding her sister, and because of that, I felt her sister was annoying because we never stopped hearing about her. That was like the only bit I did not really like. However, it is a 4.75 because I was absolutely transported. I loved reading this book. It was a 4.75 out of 5 stars for me. But do not worry, this is not the last you're going to be hearing about Caraval in this video. Next, I read Neon Gods by Katie Robert for my book club. All my friends are reading this, so I thought I'd read it. I tabbed it a little bit. I rated this book a 3 out of 5 star. This book is a Persephone and Hades retelling, but make it smutty. And that's the whole plot. You don't need to know anything else. Just know that it's smutty, and there's barely any plot. There's like a little bit of Greek mythology, which are the parts I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed when we're like, oh, there's so-and-so, and you're like, you know these characters from Greek mythology, if you know Greek mythology, which I do. I'm gonna be honest, I skimmed over so many of the pages because I wanted the smut. Is that weird to say on the internet? I was just like, I wanted those scenes out of this book, and that's what I got out of this book. 3 out of 5. I was definitely entertained. I actually read that one and this next book in a reading vlog, so if you haven't watched that reading vlog, go find it. It's pretty good. I mean, I liked it. It was a little weekend reading vlog. The next book I read was Legendary by Stephanie Garber. I can't with this one. Right off the bat, I'm just gonna let you know it's a 5 out of 5 for me. This one, we are following Donatella, and she has made this bargain with this mysterious person, and if she does not deliver the name of the mysterious game master, then she's like, shit out of luck, is basically it. So that is what she's trying to do in this entire book, and we get a love triangle that I've never felt more conflicted about since Clockwork Angel. Honestly, I could not pick. We have Jax, we have Dante. The stakes were so much higher in this book, and it just snapped. This is where I started kind of listening to soundtracks or like little Spotify playlists that people make of the books, and 10 out of 10 reading experience. Look up playlists for these books and just like listen to them while you're reading them. 5 out of 5. We're gonna stop talking about it because we still have more books to talk about. So you're probably noticing a theme. You're like, Caraval, random book, Caraval, random book. Okay, so after I read Legendary, I was like, we need a little buffer in between. I was trying to savor the Caraval trilogy. So I did actually pick up Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan, which was on my TBR. So I was very happy I got to this book. I very much enjoyed it. I rated this book a 4 out of 5 stars. There was just something, like a little something missing for me. We have Archer and Bree. Bree moves to this small town. I kid you not, I feel like I read all the small town recently. She moved to a small town to kind of escape a traumatic event that happened in her life. And while she's there, she bumps into Archer, who is completely mute. Nobody knows why, really. And she kind of just starts to get to know him, and it's just the loveliest little love story about kind of opening up about your traumas and finding love through that and building a connection that way. Gosh, it is a very pure book. It does have some explicit scenes, but their love is very pure. Archer is very pure. I could not stop with Archer. Archer, amazing. He would be like a top tier book boyfriend. He is like is soft-spoken, he is sweet, he is just a little vanilla cupcake. Is the only way I can describe him. He is scrumptious. Element in this book is they're actually fairly young. He is like 23 and she is 21, which reading these characters, they seemed like they were in their 30s. So when I found out their ages, I was like, huh? I rated this a 4 to 5 just because the ending for me felt just a teeny bit rushed, just like a little smidge of rush. I was at like the last 5 pages and something happened and I was like, and I was certain I was gonna stop reading the book there. I was like, if this thing that happens just happened, I'm done. I'm done with the book. However, I did skim a little forward and went, okay, and kept reading. I don't think we're surprised. I did indeed finish the Caraval trilogy with Finale by Stephanie Garber. Again, 5 out of 5 stars. The plot in this one was so crazy. It was just not what I originally thought this series was going to be like when I picked up the first one. We get both Scarlett and Tella's point of view. We are still dealing with some stuff that happens in the first 2 books. We have all the same characters. It is just so... I devoured this. The pages actually flew by. I started and then by the end I was like, oh shoot, I'm on page 218. And then I would like look down again and I'd be like, oh crap, I just finished the whole book. Everything wrapped up so well. The characters had such good arcs and they've grown so much since that first book. And I could not put it down. I loved this book. It was a 5 out of 5 for me. This trilogy, go read it. If you have not read it, please go read it because I'm not gonna stop talking about it for I think a fairly long time. And by month of obsession, I mean month of my Caraval obsession. That is going to continue, so don't worry. I picked up From Luck Off with Love, and let me just tell you, I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I again listened to Spotify while I did this, and I think that made this experience better for me personally because the first 100 pages were so slow for Mariana Zapata, our queen. We love her. She is a slow burn queen, which I understand. However, the first 100 pages we hadn't even met the love interest. She'd only talked about him, and I was like, okay, but where is he? And then as soon as Luck Off, Ivan was so phenomenal. I could not even breathe. Like, it was so amazing. They had great banter, 10 out of 10. The connection was so well developed. Like, you could really tell that they really just did not like each other. To explain the plot of this one, we have Jasmine and Ivan Lukoff. She is a pair skater, but she does not have her pair, and eventually his team asks her to be his pair for the year while his partner is out, and they have a very limited amount of time to like get this and work as a pair together, and they hate each other. Like, they really hate each other. It's like enemies to friends to lovers. And that transition from friends into the lovers, it was so seamless. I could like really genuinely tell they were becoming friends and they were starting to trust each other. And then there was a certain point where like the emotions clicked in. I did get a little teary at the end because we get their love and we get their ending, and it was so phenomenal. I think I only gave it a 4 out of 5 just because, I don't know, there was like little bits where it felt like I was missing something. I was like, oh, there could be more. Instead of those 100 pages at the beginning where nothing happened, we could have had more throughout. But 4 out of 5 from Luck Off with Love by Mariana Zapata. I highly recommend, and I loved it. I enjoyed. And then the last book I read in March was Almond by, I am not going to say the author's name just because I have seen so many different things on the internet on the way it's pronounced, but Almond. I read this yesterday. I read this in a day. It is so short, which is why I picked it, because I had been reading big boys the entire month. So I just wanted to read something so quick, so small. We are following Yeonjae, who has a brain condition where he doesn't feel emotions, which is very worrying when he's a child because it makes his mom think that he's like a psychopath, but he's not. Is that weird? So he has his mom and his grandma to kind of lead him through life and like how to tell what somebody is maybe feeling or what would indicate that emotion to come out of somebody else, just so he's not completely like being an ass, basically. But something tragic happens to his mom and his grandma, which leaves him on his own. And it is then after that the majority of the book takes place. I very much enjoyed this book. I did give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was just so small was the only reason I think, that I rated it a little lower. We didn't get enough. We did not get enough of certain things. However, in saying that, the chapters are really short, super easy to read. It was very quick to get through. We get a lot for these little baby chunks. I don't know. I think I just could have read a lot more. So I rated it a 3.5 out of 5. It is a very interesting story. It's a literary fiction. It was very well written. There we have it. Those are the 12 books I read in March. Hopefully April is not this much, because I think it was actually genuinely a lot to do. My brain definitely hurts. I read some amazing series this month. I read some amazing books. Some of my favorites are on this month. So I think I'm picking great books. I think we're doing well. My arms are up in the air now. I don't know why. If anything you take from this video, please go read the Carvel trilogy and Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. That is all I have for today's video. I hope you give lots of love, give a million kisses, honestly, and just have the best day ever. Bye, guys.